Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 2025 Grand Swiss Tournament. The top two finishers of this incredible event qualify to the candidates, and the winner of the candidates, whether you know that or not, goes on to challenge the world champion Gukesh in the next world championship match. There's just one problem. Gukesh himself is playing in this tournament. Obviously, Gukesh cannot qualify to play in the candidates to then go challenge himself. He's just doing this to get some practice, to get some experience, to get some reps. But it isn't going great. Gukesh lost to Abhimanyu Mishra in the previous recap that I made. If you missed that, that one's called the youngest GM ever defeating Gukesh. And today it only got worse. In fact, it is quite fortunate that tomorrow, which is September the 10th, 2025, whenever you're watching this in the future, there is a rest day of this tournament. All the players get a break before finishing the second half. So in this video, I will show you some critical games. Then I will give you an update of the standings. And that is all I have for the introduction. And if you haven't checked out Chessly leaderboards yet, you really should. Because they're great. Not because I'm biased or anything. Here we go. I'm going to kick things off with the world champion going up against Nicholas Theodorou. Now, Nicholas Theodorou, I would like to make this abundantly clear. He has been featured on this channel probably about 5 times. I have played Nicholas Theodorou over the board 3 times. 2 draws, 1 loss, which I'm actually pretty proud of because, as you're about to see, he beat the literal champion of the world. Nicholas Theodorou has an insane record against people who are rated 2770 and higher. He's beaten Fabiano Caruana, 2800. He beat Levon Aronian, 2700. He beat 2750 or something, whatever his rating was. He beat Arjun Erigaisi. Like, he's like the Grim Reaper meme, you know, knocking on each door. Anyway, Gukesh opens up with e4. We have knight f3 and knight f6. I don't know what type of openings Theodorou plays, but he plays the Petrov here. Knight takes e5, d6, knight goes back. Another knight takes the pawn. The boys play a main line, d4, d5. The bishops come out. Castle, c4, c6. All of this has been played in here. White can play knight c3, rook e1, queen c2, like everything is a move. Gukesh plays c5, which is not a move that I'm familiar with. Of course, there are perks to being the world champion, your preparation. Bishop c7, and now we have knight to c3. Now, at this point, black can play bishop f5 or black can play f5. Both moves are designed to anchor in the knight. After spending 24 minutes in this position, Theodorou moves his bishop. I don't know what he was scared of. I don't know what he was thinking about. Maybe he was trying to get Gukesh out of prep. It doesn't really work because Gukesh goes knight g5 immediately, right? The knight is hanging, but so is the bishop, and now there is an attack, an extra attack on the knight. So now we have knight takes c3, another move played in some 20 minutes. Pawn takes c3, and this move queen f6. And so now White needs to play out the preparation and the entire idea of it, right? And so the idea here for White is to actually play this insane move g4, forcing the bishop to take, and then the computer's just kind of like, well, I guess I have a space advantage. I don't know. The other move is rook b1, but rook b1, black just goes b6, and then the best move is g4. So you can either play rook b1 or just g4. Now, Gukesh spends 17 minutes and he plays g4. He finds the best move. He finds the correct idea. But the thing is, his opening preparation throughout this tournament has, to me, been so strange. And I'm not criticizing as much as I am confused because the positions that he gets are so complicated. Like, they require such a level of precision. Like, for example, take, and now black just plays very natural move, queen g6, offering a queen trade. And what white should do here is trade the queen, which he does. And then black goes h takes g6. And now white should play rook b1, which, okay, he doesn't quite do. He plays rook e1. And, you know, the idea is to maybe go rook e7, so black goes knight a6. Now, I don't get where white's advantage is. White's advantage is, according to the computer, again, simply in the b file. So you have to play rook to b1. However, black is rock solid, and white's pieces are sort of standing around, you know, and at some point, black will play b6 anyway. So Gukesh does play rook b1, and I mean, Theodorou has played literally into 20 moves of preparation. Like, Gukesh has shown up to this game, and he is playing on his own, and Theodorou is just sort of responding. And now, the best move for white is to play rook b3 and rook a3. Will Gukesh play that? Yeah. Oh yeah, rook b3, rook a3. Totally understanding the ideas, targeting this weak knight. The move b6 creates the weakness of the knight. It's actually incredible just how smart the whole plan is for white. You force your opponent to go b6. Now the knight is destabilized, so you immediately go after it. In the meantime, black creates counterplay down the center line. And the top sequence that can happen here is rook takes. You go after the knight anyway, allowing the black rook to travel into your position. Let's see if that happens. Rook takes. And now you go rook a3. You allow the check. King goes up. You let them take your bishop. You take the knight, and you get into this kind of hungry hippo race. Gukesh goes rook a3. This is the best move. Rook e1 check. King to g2, rook c1, rook a6. Now, the only move for black not to lose the game on the spot, bishop to d8. The most insane thing about this position, as I already said, the most unbelievable thing is that from the opening, like from move 9, this is white's entire plan. So Gukesh is actually playing fantastic, understanding the position perfectly. This is exactly what white wanted. You wanted a slight space advantage, which you are then going to massage. You are going to go after the knight. You are going to get into a knight versus bishop endgame. Black has to play very passively, targeting your weak knight. And now you need to move your knight back and continue the pressure. And Gukesh plays knight back and continues the pressure. Now, one other thing I would like to shout out is the unbelievable understanding of Nicholas Theodorou to just not like fall over and die. Because look, white wants to take knight e5. This, everything is weak in the black position. I mean, it really does feel like if you had no evaluation bar, you're looking at this going, white must be winning. King f8 played in 28 seconds, understanding that is the best plan, so that the king can walk to the middle just in time to get out of all the checks, take on c5, and get counterplay. King f8, king e8, walking the king into the middle here, into the center of the fight, is the right defensive plan. Gukesh plays rook takes a7. Now black should take on c5, which he does. And now white should not take back the pawn. White should either play knight to e5 attacking everything, or rook a8. Rook a8 forces the king this way instead of going to e8. Gukesh plays knight e5. So now he had a 50-50, right? Knight e5 or what? And you needed to go here so that the king would come forward and the bishop wouldn't get active. He goes here, and now the bishop activates, and the position is equal. The position's simply equal, right? White has a million ways to draw this. White can play rook takes pawn check, and then rook here, and then your pieces all fall off the board. White can also play knight d7, probably trade the bishop. White can also maybe take this pawn, although that's a little bit more dangerous. Now, what do we know about Gukesh? He will not easily settle for a draw, especially when he's the favorite, right? So he plays rook f7 here, and now the best move is rook to c7, which he doesn't quite play, but it doesn't really matter. You know, Theodorou's just playing chill moves. He's taking the pawn on c3, and now you should give a check, force the king to come here, maybe take with check, or you have g5 as well. Gukesh plays rook a8, takes the pawn with check, king d7, but actually now you might need to play for a draw. Like, you need to play rook a6, pawn takes, g5, give up the pawn, win this pawn back, and make a draw. Gukesh plays knight e5. And now this is a very spicy endgame. Black has two connected pawns and the more active king. Like, the king is just in the middle. This is a very, 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 very stubborn decision, right? Like, black is just going to run the pawns, even with only 6 minutes on the clock. And that's what he does. And now with white, it's very controlled. Like, you gotta have controlled chaos here. The best move is rook a6 to try to win some more pawns and also join with your pawn to play defense. So rook a6, Gukesh has to go. He plays f4. He plays f4, which is like, you know, already, like, I get it, but apparently that was not the best move. And now black should play rook e3. I mean, I don't know. You know, Theodorou plays what I think is a very natural move. And now white needs to play f5 and go on his own race, and that is okay. Still, we have the idea of rook d6, as well as taking and taking. And so white wants 4 passed pawns. White thinks his king is close enough, and you're going to get all these passed pawns. But here comes c4. Now, you might not have any time to take this pawn, right? King f2 has to be played now. King f2, you got to get closer to those pawns. They're officially too dangerous. The only other alternative is to maybe give the check. Gukesh plays rook a7. He spends 15 minutes. Now, king f2, just getting, the king a little bit closer will end in a draw, although it is very complicated still. And black is actually already playing for a win. Rook a7 check. Theodorou here, instead of going forward, goes back. Plays king e8. And if you give another check on a8, he's going to come forward. And you give another check, he's going to go back. He's going to give another check. He's going to come forward. And rook a7 check, Theodorou can repeat the position or not repeat the position, right? So rook a7 check was given, but the king was here. So it looks like Gukesh is happily settling for a draw now. Rook a7. But the king goes this way. And if you give the check, the king... That's so sneaky. That is so sneaky. Theodorou dances the king on a different set of squares. So this position happened once, and he dances it there a second time. And now this position has happened before. Now king c7. And you will look at black's clock. Time has been gained. Rook a7. Now the king runs forward. Rook a6. Now the king runs forward. And black is winning. Black is winning. He's getting d2 and c3. Gukesh is just not in time. e7, rook e1. These pawns promoted first. Gukesh goes down. Theodorou played this game so intelligently. I mean, to defend all of this prep, to play knight c3, queen f6 he found, queen g6 he found, knight a6 and b6 he found, central counterplay he found, but perhaps the most impressive of all, bishop d8 and king f8. So nice. And then he was just kind of reacting to see how much white would try to pressure. And this was wild. Allowing 2 connected passed pawns, which are faster than yours. I'm telling you, being a fan of Gukesh is difficult on the heart and the nervous system because it's unclear what he underestimated here. Like, the pawns for black were coming down the board, and I don't talk to Gukesh. And if I did, I would definitely ask, what did he miss? Because here, you bring the king to the pawns. It feels intuitive, but he went rook a7 check. Maybe he just thought it was a draw, but it's not. I mean, the king comes forward as it ended up doing in the game. Theodorou, very intelligent, doesn't repeat the position, gets to the 40th move, gets the extra time, and just simply wins the game. Gukesh has lost 2 in a row. He's now down to 2750-ish. 2750-ish. Now, yesterday, I was really complimentary towards Anish Giri. I don't think he's going to tweet about it, but he might. He does have a rest day tomorrow. He doesn't make it to the thumbnail, unfortunately, because Gukesh is the world champion. But I said that Anish Giri has a really stupid reputation of being a boring player, and he's up against Marc-Andrea Marizzi, who all of you educated me yesterday is from Corsa, or Corsica, which is an island. It's north of Sardinia. By the way, Sardinia has a beautiful chess festival, and I would like to go there one day. But Corsica is also very beautiful. I just don't know about their chess scene. That's why his name is Italian. Anish Giri's name is not Italian. Anish Giri. D6. We have a Najdorf Sicilian. Yesterday, Marc-Andrea played bishop d3. Today, he plays knight c3. And this was a human game. And what I mean by a human game is it was a very complicated Najdorf. Both guys advancing their pawns like this. Anish Giri down some time in the opening. I think he deliberately turned it into a messy game. And what I mean by that is there are other ways the theory can go here. Like g4, b5 here, b4 already we are completely gone from known territory. Queen e2, bishop e7, white castles and plays very naturally. Anish plays knight a7, and this is what I mean by it's a human move. instead of knight a5 trying to trade the queen. He goes knight a7. The knight is obviously going to come back, and this knight will be targeted. And now white plays bishop g2, which is apparently a mistake. Instead, you should have went queen c4, trying to win this pawn. I don't know. Again, I said, it's a human game. It's not an engine game. We play bishop g2 instead. Bishop c6, targeting the knight. And now we target that knight. So both guys get their knights traded off. Anish very happily munches on a horse because a5, a4 is incoming. The bishop comes back. And now black has a very simple plan. So Anish did all of this because he was like, I think he's going to go after my knight. I'm going to go after his knight. And then I'm just going to play queen c7, a5. Now the computer, the more it thinks about this position, thinks that black is crushing. And the way I know that is that the computer here with white, I'm not exaggerating, wants to go king d2. Like, folks, that's how you know something has gone very wrong. When the computer thinks that the best plan here is king d2, king e, just getting out. I mean, obviously you take first, but then you play rook a1 and you try to do this. That's how you know something's gone wrong. Marc-Andrea does not sense that something has gone wrong. He plays f5. And black's attack is simply more powerful. Pawn takes e6, pawn takes e6. Anish correctly leaving the king in the middle of the board, as you see in many different Najdorfs. Pawn takes a4, rook takes a4. Black is just thundering down here. Bishop h3 looks like a very nice threat. It is completely ignored. c3, knight c5. This defends e6. If you take, I'm going to take with a pawn and get my other pieces to swarm on this diagonal, and rook a1 is just lethal. Queen e2, queen c6. Now you run your king out. It's too late. Now I castle. The rook will meet you here. The knight is coming down here. Rook a2, rook a1, rook a2, rook e4, knight e4. And after just 27 moves, Marc-Andrea Marizzi's king was hunted out of the island of Corsica and had to surrender to the Dutch. And that is really crazy. Anish Giri came to play today, and I think Marc-Andrea had some sort of nerves, and it must have been after winning 3 games in a row. This dude beat Artemiev, MVL, and Keimer, and the thing is, you have to regress to the mean at some point. This dude's rating is 2610. It's not 2810, right? And he came up against a very, very experienced opponent. Like, I mean, at his age, at Marc-Andrea's age, Anish Giri defeated Magnus Carlsen when he was 16. He was, like, crushing in Tata Steel, so there is a slight experience level gap here, and Anish punished him. And I mean, to, you know, climb up to first place in the standings, or half a point out of first, this was a good pairing for Anish, and he really made it count. Now, we'll see if Marc-Andrea just begins to spiral and totally regresses to 2610, but I'm obviously not hoping for that. I am hoping that he continues to crush. Now, here is a matchup of players that are absolutely having great tournaments, and one in particular is Gumilars, who drew Perugia, won a couple of games against higher-rated players, and he runs into Nihal Sarin. Now, earlier in this event, I showed you a game Nihal Sarin, Aram Hakobian, which I might separately make a video about, because that game was probably one of the most genius games I have ever had the pleasure of showing you. Now, if you're still here and you haven't left, Nihal Sarin did it again. Again, I reiterate, this man is a genius. He's a genius. And the reason I know that is he is brilliant in rapid and blitz. And I am a firm believer in the fact that if you are an elite speed chess player, you crush people with less time on the clock, you have a natural gift and intuition for the game. I am not just saying that because my bullet rating is 3,000 and my blitz rating is around 2,800. On my secret account, it's even higher than that. I'm not just trying to say that I struggle in classical chess, so people who play speed are geniuses. I know that's very convenient. That's what I firmly believe. Classical chess is the epitome of the highest level, and you can get the highest level, but if you can play close to the highest level, you are brilliant. Now, with that introduction, we begin. We have pawn takes c4. We have a very boring Queen's Gambit accepted. One of the most solid lines you can play. c5 here, takes. And now we have bishop e7. This early bishop e7 move was chosen by Gukesh in the last round game against Hikaru in the Candidates in Toronto 2024. Some of you might not remember that. Actually, frankly, most of you don't remember that. Some of you weren't even born then. Pawn takes d4, pawn takes d4, bishop e7, and now white has a very simple game plan. Knight c3, rook e1, bishop f4, bishop g5, etc. This position sucks for black. Not really, but as a person that likes to play dynamic, interesting chess, this is so boring. And, you know, Nihal just has to, like, he got to deal with that a6. Most of my opponents here play, like, a4 or even d5. Like, you can just trade all the pieces. Well, you know, he plays bishop f4 and gives Nihal a little bit of activity. Now white should play rook c1, which he does. All of white's pieces are perfectly developed. And now Nihal starts to think a little bit. He's like, okay, how do I get a game? How do I create imbalance in this game? Because I can just play very solidly, but then white has all the fun. Bishop b4. I move the bishop away from this, all right? I'm not afraid of that. I'm targeting the knight against the rook. And I'm trying to win control here. Gumelar's responds with bishop g5 immediately, although knight g5 actually was the best move. And the idea of knight g5 is if you play h6, I'm actually going to sacrifice on f7. The thing about this position is that you need a killer instinct, okay? You need to have some sort of feel for, you know, like if black messes around, you just go for the kill. If you play slowly, if you give Nihal something here, watch what he does with it. Knight d7, a3, takes. So your advantage is gone, and Nihal is just improving his position. He has created the imbalance of bishop versus knight. That is literally all he needs. You might be wondering, like, how on earth is it even possible to win from this position? Rook e3, queen c7. White plays a very natural move, knight to e5. Takes. You should have taken with the rook. Of course you take with the pawn. You attack the knight, you no longer have an isolated pawn, right? Now Nihal Sarin throws his first punch. His first chance of the game. Queen c6. Mate is threatened. You have to defend it. Okay, that's easy. We defend it with the rook. Now we take our eye off the center. The knight immediately jumps in. Now we are attacking the bishop. So the bishop has to move. It does. Now we play the best move. The best move, h6. White now has to play bishop e7 and reposition the bishop. You have to get the bishop away from the king side. Because if you don't, here comes knight c3. This. And you didn't have to blunder this, but I was going to go g5. So if queen e2, g5. The bishop moves, something like rook d8, g4, etc. The attack continues. Instead of that, what happens is rook f4, knight c3, attacking the queen and threatening mate. Obviously, the queen goes here, right? Knight e2. If you take with the rook, it's back rank mate. If you take with the queen, you get mated. Nihal Sarin had 4 moves to operate in this game. 4. And he won it instantly. Like, his opponent gave him 1 move to create a threat. His knight got out of the way. He threatened a kingside onslaught. His opponent overreacted. He immediately punished it with an absolutely ghost tactic. Yeah, Nihal Sarin is a problem. He's a serious problem. A lot of the other games were drawn, so I would like to quickly show you the top 2 boards of the women's. Honestly, this section is a little bit of a bullying exhibition, as Lagno, who is an extremely experienced player, is just playing like really aggressive dynamic chess, sacrificing pieces left and right, applying pressure. She did play the very experienced Dinara Wagner in this round, who did fight back at multiple points throughout this game. Like, white had very strong advantages in the middle game, but then would fight back. But the problem is, if you give Lagno 3-4 chances, knight h8 is an unbelievable move, by the way, creating a mate threat of knight g6. If you give your seasoned opponent a lot of chances and you play defensively, like here, for example, black should have played the move rook e8, looking for dynamic counterplay. It's almost the same story over and over. White now has an endgame to grind down, and she is super strong. She's got excellent piece coordination. Check out this just like epic king walk. Like, the king from d1 literally just strolls up to g6 to create checkmate threats. And the position's equal for some time, but unfortunately, when you are under pressure for some 30, 40 moves, you will make a mistake. This mistake came really deep in this endgame, as black played the move bishop to d4, thinking that this was a draw, but it is not. Instead of that, black could have played rook e3, given up the pawn, kept the rooks on the board. Not easy to do that. Black thought, well, I'm just gonna, run my king to b6, and we make a draw. But that simply did not happen, as the king was completely boxed out. And even though you can give a check, it's not good enough. King c6, a6, king b7, a7 will win the game. And Lagno won. And Vaishali, Ramesh Babu, previous candidates player, grandmaster, also sister of Prague, epic chess household, against Ulvia, whose name, I don't know where the accent is on the last name, but I will just say Fatalieva is my guess. They had a Vienna. We love the Vienna in this household. White set up somewhat of a strange position for her pieces. Vaishali said, okay, I'll take it. And she did what she does in almost every game she plays. She began a voracious attack on the king. She set up all her pieces beautifully, deflected the bishop from the pawn. Bishop g4 is a flex. You can't take it because of queen g2 mate. And like I said, in the women's section, at the moment, it is a little bit of a bullying exhibition, as Vaishali is looking to punch her ticket to the next candidates, and she is looking in prime position to do so. Just like in the Gukesh game, two connected pass pawns are absolute monsters. These two got the job done. They are currently tied for first, but there are some players like Chi Guo, who I have never heard of. I've never heard of this person. I thought they were a young player. I believe Chi Guo is 30. Stefanovna, I've heard of. Fatalieva, new to me. But this is a very close race, right? And at some point, one of these two players is going to play one of these two players, and they could lose. And anything can happen. Muzichuk is here. Asobayeva is here. Yuchin Song is very strong. Fruza Hamdanova is very strong from Uzbekistan. And in the open, Parham Maksudlu continues to lead. Mishra, Erigaisi, Bluebaum, Giri Sarin, half a point behind in the 7th round. I think Sarin is playing on the top board. Yes, Sarin with white is going to look to beat Parham Maksudlu. We have Erigaisi, Bluebaum, Giri, Mishra. Very exciting matchup. Will Mishra continue? Will Giri be the spoiler? He just beat Maritzi. We will see. And obviously a huge group of 4s. The second Parham loses and some of the 4s catch up to the 4.5s. It's game on. Hans Niemann won a nice game as well. I forgot to actually cover him, I think. He won a nice game against Vohidov. Those are your games. Erdogmus had a 9-hour defense against Abdusatorov. Anyway, rest day. Hopefully Gukesh can recover. That's all I have for you. Get out of here.